Some of the most interesting moves in the Pokemon games, at least in my personal opinion, are moves that are some of the strongest of their type but suffer from inaccuracy. We're talking about moves like Hydro Pump or Thunder that, while they are technically the strongest move of their type, at least in these early generations, they have such a high chance to miss that a lot of runners simply avoid these altogether. And I always feel like I can tell an awful lot about how a player thinks about the game of Pokemon by whether or not they use these moves in their challenges. For me, as a guy who got his start on YouTube doing hardcore minimum battles solo runs, I actually made extensive use of moves like Hydro Pump and Thunder because in spite of their lack of accuracy, when you're significantly under-leveled compared to your opponents, the extra power is often the difference between, say, getting a 2-hit KO versus getting a 3-hit KO using a more accurate move. On the other hand, a lot of consistency speedrunners or people who are doing competitive sets will tend to only use the 100% accurate weaker forms of these moves like Surf or Thunderbolt because they assume that it's more important to be able to consistently be able to knock out your opponent than to risk a 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 chance of missing. I've heard a ton of different justifications for why one move should be used over the other, but the fact is that these moves are some of the most underutilized in solo challenges. So today I want to see just how bad or good these moves actually are by doing a full game solo run with a Mew with a starting moveset of Thunder, Hydro Pump, Mega Kick, and Submission. All moves which have between a 20 and 30% chance to miss on any given turn, but are still among the strongest moves of their type in a Gen 1 solo challenge. And we will compare that to a second run next time where we're going to run the standard 100% accurate equivalents of these moves. I'm thinking Thunderbolt, Surf, Body Slam, and in the case of a fighting type move that's more accurate, the best one that we can actually get in Gen 1 is Low Kick. But by comparing those two sets directly against each other, I think we're going to come out and see just how good or bad using these different moves are, and is accuracy really as important as we think it is? Let's get into it and find out. So as we meet Professor Oak outside of Pallet Town, he's going to catch a Mew that has one of the most questionable movesets ever given to a Pokemon because we're running only inaccurate moves in this one. Let's see how this goes as we actually get this Pokemon and try to fight against our rival. I predict the early game's actually going to be really easy. The misses are going to start to matter when we get late game against really tough opponents that have multiple Pokemon. So we are running the epic Stormtrooper Mew today because he has the accuracy of a Stormtrooper with Thunder, Mega Kick, Hydro Pump, and Submission as the moveset. We're starting with only PP and Thunder. Don't worry about that. That will all get reset after we get through this first fight. And we are running on 0 DVs as usual so that we're looking specifically just at how these moves perform. So in the Rival 1 fight, I'm just going to go for Thunder. This is going to be a 2-hit KO. Submission probably would have been better here. And we get 2 Thunder misses before we finally manage to win, but we do beat the rival pretty darn easily. Now, of course, 3 of these moves are TMs in Gen 1, Thunder, Mega Kick, and Submission, and Hydro Pump was actually made a TM in later generations, so I think we can at least argue, also considering the fact that Mew is supposed to be the original base Pokemon for all of the Gen 1 151, it should be able to learn every single move, and we don't have a same type attack bonus in any of these moves, plus perfectly flat stats with a Mew, which is why I've decided to run with this Pokemon with this set, with the real point being just to see how much misses actually affect our ranges as we go through the game. Then we will run a second run next time that will be a comparable set, but using the perfectly 100% accurate comps for each of these moves, just to see how they actually compare in a full game solo challenge. Now, one of the biggest differences between, say, Gen 1 and Gen 2, for example, is that in Gen 1, you generally get the 100% accurate variants of these moves before you get their less accurate counterparts, which is probably the biggest reason why, at least in Gen 1, you don't see Hydro Pump or Thunder being used very often. You get Thunderbolt at the 3rd gym, and you can get Surf as soon as you get to Fuchsia City, often well before you reach the level to get Hydro Pump naturally on a Water-type Pokemon, for example. So you don't really have a situation where you'd prefer to use these, albeit strong but inaccurate moves. Gen 2 kind of flipped that on its head though, because they made Blizzard, Fire Blast, and Thunder all available in the Goldenrod game corner. And we've seen on GSC Pokemon challenges in the Minimum Battle series how important those moves can sometimes be for Pokemon in order to progress without taking optional fights. So this is kind of a really interesting case where I might do a similar run in Gen 2 just to see how it pans out, since they put those 100% accurate comparables in the post game only after you beat the Elite Four. It actually could be an even better comparison in that version of the game, but we're going to try this first in Pokemon Yellow. It is time to fight against Brocky Boy. Let's see if Hydro Pump just destroys him. So Brock attempt number 1, we are going to just come in and do Hydro Pump. It's going to one-hit KO the Geodude, of course. We level up to level 9. Out comes Onix. We hit the Hydro Pump, and since we got no misses, that was just an easy 2 hits to take down all of Brock's Pokemon, and we can progress in the game. And for some reason, we had some resets and optional battles still in the overlay. I've just taken those out, so we have currently a perfect score. We have no resets, and we have not learned any TMs. In fact, we will not learn any new moves as we go through this entire run. Now, one of the issues that we are going to have is that we're going to have to keep healing up because we don't have a lot of PP in all these moves, and that could actually affect some spots as we go through the run. In general, we actually want to use Hydro Pump as much as possible because it is our most accurate move and doesn't have recoil like Submission, though I will use Submission in cases where it is super effective just because it will be the stronger move, for example, against this first youngster with his Rattata. Otherwise, I guess we go for Mega Kick when we run out of Hydro Pump PP in order to avoid going back to the Pokemon Center all the time, and we'll use Thunder basically when it's effective, but avoid it as much as possible due to the fact that it is the least accurate of our moves. Now, the thing that I find so interesting about these moves, of course, is that there's a lot of nuance to whether or not you should actually use them. If you're in a situation like a Minimum Battles run, there are, of course, cases where using the stronger but inaccurate move can lead to a win where a weaker but perfectly accurate move doesn't give you the ranges to be able to survive against your opponents. Whereas if you're just leveling up anyway, then you'd prefer to have the consistent moves because you're probably just going to get through faster than sitting and resetting for luck to use these super inaccurate but powerful moves. And then you have to get into the weeds of whether or not the stronger move actually ever leads to a better range or not, because at the end of the day, if it's still a 2-hit KO with the stronger move and you're not getting a 1-hit KO with a crit with the stronger move, which can happen in Gen 1 since Gen 1 crit damage is not just a straight 2x multiplier, it can actually get really tough to decide which one is actually optimal. So here as we come into the Super Nerd at the end of Mount Moon, I'm just going to go Hydro Pump on the Grimer. It is not a 1-hit KO, so I'm actually going to use Mega Kick just to knock this one out after that. Let's go back to Hydro Pump for the Voltorb. That is a 1-hitter. And then Hydro Pump on the Coughing barely misses the range to KO it. I'm even going to use Submission just to knock that Pokemon out and keep at least one Hydro Pump PP for Jesse and James. So we're going to get Lord Dome here, and let's make our way into the Jesse and James fight and see how it goes. Of course, they lead off with Ekans. I'm going for Hydro Pump. That is an easy 1-hit KO victory. Submission now on Meowth gets the 1-hitter as well. And now Coughing, we use Hydro Pump. It is a 2-hit KO. So this is a spot where you'd absolutely just prefer to have, Surf or Thunderbolt or something. But hey, we do manage to get through, and we can move on now to the Misty section. We've got Thunder, so technically we should have a perfectly good move for getting through this gym. The main issue is just that we're kind of under-leveled, so I'm gonna go north to Billy Boy's house first and just see what he's up to, and hopefully we can come back at a closer level to Misty. That means, of course, we've got to take on rival number 2 right here. He's going to lead off with his Spearow, and we're gonna go Thunder. We miss again, and he's just doing massive amounts of damage to us while we miss. We do finally knock him out. Out comes the Sandshrew. We really don't want to miss Hydro Pump here because we don't want to be sand attacked. Fortunately, we do knock it out. We go Submission on Rattata, and we've got the Eevee. We can also go Submission and get the easy KO there. So after a couple misses on the Spearow, we had no further misses in that fight, and we were able to one-shot all of those Pokemon. And now I don't expect to have any issues going north to Bill's house other than the fact that we're probably going to just miss a bunch of times. but we should still be able to get through all these trainers eventually. It's just a question of how many times we have to go back to the Pokemon Center. And sure enough, we do make it to Billy Boy's house up here, where he's going to show us that he's combined with a Pokemon that knows only perfectly accurate moves, and he's going to come out and laugh at us because we're using inaccurate ones. But we're going to tell him we'll come back with those perfectly accurate moves next time to stunt on you. For now, we're just going to move on in the game. Now, fortunately, beating all the trainers up north has gotten us to level 22, so we're already at a level that's reasonable to take on Misty. Let's just see how she goes. So Misty attempt number 1, I'm going Thunder on the Staryu. That is a one-hit KO. Starmie's out next. It goes Bubble Beam. We miss Thunder. Now she goes X Defend, but now we hit Thunder and it does not one-hit KO this Pokemon. I'm going to switch to Mega Kick just to knock it out. And there we go. We beat Misty on the first attempt. It took 13 minutes and 15 seconds to get to this point. Obviously, we've had quite a few misses so far, but really not too bad getting to this point in the game. This is obviously not a perfectly optimized speedrun, which is why we're going to be looking at things like resets and optional battles that are required. Just like the previous runs in this little mini series on moves that I'm doing, I will take optional battles as soon as I can see that a fight is not going to be possible at my current level without at least insane luck. But at this point in the game, there's really no reason to do any sort of grinding whatsoever. We can simply use the moves that we have and basically one-shot all of our opponents at this point in the game. It's going to be very interesting to see where we get our first loss that's purely just due to a poorly timed miss. I expect it to come in somewhere around Rival 4 or Rival 5 personally, but place your own predictions down below. Now this of course brings us now to the SSAN, where there's only one fight to take here on minimum battles, which is the Rival number 3 fight. I don't expect him to be hard as long as we hit our moves. That's all we actually need, but if we get sand attacked a bunch of times by, for example, the Sandshrew and the Eevee, we could lose this fight just due to the fact that we have low accuracy. So let's see if we get the luck or not. Starting off on the Spearow, of course, I'm going to go Thunder. We missed the first one, but hit the second one. Out next is Rattata. We will go Submission, which is a one-hit KO. Sandshrew's out next. Hydro Pump does connect, so it goes down in one hit. And Eevee, we just use Submission and easily win. So no problem there. To get through Rival number 3, we can come rub the captain's back, and we are ready to go fight Surgy Boy. Let's see if the Trash Man likes our kind of trashy moves here. He also is running Mega Kick, so this is kind of a mirror match of poor strategy. Which will KO the opponent first? The guy who only uses inaccurate moves, or the guy who is just a trash man? Well, after a quick heal, let's get into this and find out. So first up against Lieutenant Surge, we can see he has lower defense than Special. So this is a situation where Mega Kick is likely the strongest move that we can use. He misses a Mega Kick, we miss a Mega Kick. Then he Mega Punches us, we hit the Mega Kick, and we knock him out in just 2 turns after we actually managed to hit. So 17 minutes, 5 seconds to take down Surgy Boy. And once again, we are progressing on minimum battles with no extra resets or anything. We've just completely crushed up to this point. I expect that 100% accurate moves would also completely crush up to this point though, so I don't think it's really a situation where we've gained any advantage from having stronger moves, at least not yet. I really expect these moves to make a big difference on the Elite Four or like the last couple of gyms as we go through Kanto, but for now, early game, probably something like Body Slam is getting a similar range there against Lieutenant Surge. We'll just have to see. For now, however, we can make our way over through the rock tunnel, where for the grass types, the only move that we can use really is Mega Kick, which could be kind of random here since we've only got 5 PP in the move. Here we get Stun Spored by the Wrapping Blast. We do knock her out the next turn, but now she can go wrap on us while we're paralyzed and slower. So this could be a really random fight. If we don't manage to hit all of these Mega Kicks especially, we could end up in a situation where we are on the final Pokemon like this, and now we have to use a resisted move like Hydro Pump while it is also using Growth. I don't know, at some point we're probably better off using Submission, even though it's significantly weaker, just due to the fact that Bellsprout raised its special so much. So we do manage to knock out that opponent, but man, that was not a pretty fight. Fortunately, we do have decent moves for everything other than grass types, and there aren't that many grass types in this section, so I think we'll be fine, but let's just see if it actually works out. But we do in fact make it to the rock tunnel self-destruct hiker with no issues. This is the midpoint in a minimum battles run, which is why I always like to show this battle. We're just going to spam hydro pump here because he can use defense curl if we miss, so hydro pump technically is the strongest move. But then when we run out of hydro pump PP, we just got to go into submission since it's super effective. It does not one-shot the graveler here though, so we're gonna have to just hit it twice with submission. Of course, hydro pump would have been a one-hit KO, but that's unfortunately what we're dealing with when we've got these moves that have kind of low PP as well as inaccuracy. Like, submission is the only move that we currently have that actually has a decent amount of PP. And then here on this last trainer with her Oddish, we get paralyzed and we've run out of PP and Mega Kick. So we're slowly getting absorbed down because Thunder keeps missing. And on the final Pidgey, the only move that we have left is submission. Fortunately, it misses a sand attack, but then we knock ourselves out. So we have to take our first reset. That was our first battle where it actually came down to the fact that we had 2 PP left in Mega Kick, but we just couldn't hit either of them on this Oddish. The next attempt, we do hit the Mega Kick, and then we can just go into Thunder on the Pidgey and get the easy victory. So this is the first situation where our inaccuracy led to a loss that I'm sure we would have actually won pretty easily with 100% accurate moves. And now as we come into Celadon City, we have the trouble that we don't have a good move for Erica. Only Mega Kick is neutrally effective, and we've already seen ourselves lose to a grass-type Pokemon due to that move missing. We're probably going to have to slam some PP ups into Mega Kick, specifically because it has such a high chance to miss, and it's our only neutrally effective move. Consider that late game, we're going to be looking at opponents like Alakazam and Exeggutor, against whom we really are not going to want to miss, and we're going to need to have Mega Kick as our only neutrally effective move in those situations. But either way, before I go and try my hand at Erica, I'm going to go ahead and do the Rocket Hideout as well as the Pokemon Tower, because I think the extra levels could make the difference there. Still, we easily get through everything here, so it's time for Jesse and James in the basement. Let's see if we can land all of our hits here. Starting with this coughing, I'm going to go Hydro Pump, which is not a one-hit KO. So I guess Submission, since it has the most PP, is the play to just knock that one out. We'll go Submission on Meowth, which is an easy one-hitter, and then Hydro Pump on the Ekans. And now we're going to recover PP and Hydro Pump as we go into the Giovanni fights, and so we want to use that move on both the Onix and the Rhyhorn. So after a quick heal and save, let's go ahead and try this fight. So first up on the Onix, of course, Hydro Pump, it hits, so that's a guaranteed one-hit KO. We get to level 31 as Rhyhorn comes out and also takes a one-shot. Now it's time for Persian. I'm going for Submission since it's super effective. We do get the one hit there as well. So as long as we hit all of our moves, that is a one-hit KO sweep on Giovanni, and we are ready to move on in the game. Let's go back to Lavender and the Rival. Now, of course, I could Pokédoll glitch and skip that section, but I'm not going to do that in this run. We'll save that for a super minimum battles run in the future. So now it's time for rival number 4. We can go Thunder on the Fearow, which is an easy one-hit KO. Hydro Pump is effectively as good as we can get here on the Magnemite. If this were Gen 2, we could think about going Submission, but you know, it is what it is. Thunder now on the Shelder is a one-hit KO. Hydro Pump misses the Sandshrew, and then we get Sand attacked. Oh no, this is terrible. Now we can't hit Hydro Pump at all, so we end up having to use a Mega Kick there. And now it's time to go Submission on Eevee. We do get the hit, so we win, but that was scary. One Sand attack basically destroys this entire moveset. That's arguably the reason why you wouldn't want to use this in, say, a competitive setting. You'd just end up missing over and over again and then getting destroyed because somebody used one Sand attack on you. But now, fortunately, this moveset does have enough coverage to deal with Ghost-type Pokemon, though Thunder, interestingly, is not one-hit KOing these Ghastlies. So this is actually a tougher fight than I had expected. So we will get a free heal as we go up the tower, but I took one reset there due to the fact that I didn't heal coming into that fight. I didn't want to go out to the Pokemon Center and take even more time. So I mean, it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Do you reset or do you just take the time to go out and heal? I decided to go for the reset route. Probably a mistake, but you can yell at me in the comments down below. Still, we get through the rest of the channelers with no issue. It's time to take pick on Ghosty Mama, where she's gonna get a Hydro Pump. As long as it hits, I think we just win, and sure enough, we get the one-hitter right there with no issue on Cubone's Mama. That brings us to Jesse and James. I'm gonna yellow it since I'm still on green health. Let's see if we can manage to win. First up, of course, they've got the Meowth. The best play is submission to just one-hit KO that Pokemon. Arbok is out next. I'm going to go Hydro Pump. It is going to be a 2-hit KO with this move, so we get Bite the next turn. Now we've got to deal with the Wheezing, which goes Sludge. We hit Thunder, and this is going to be a 2-hitter as well. And we're just being paralyzed, but we finally managed to hit with 14 HP remaining, so we beat Jesse and James on the first attempt. You don't need a heal for Jesse and James, come on. And now that we've saved Mr. Fuji, he's going to give us his little flute, and we're just going to go off into the world, playing our flute all over the place to just make other people angry, I guess. I don't know. But now we have to make a decision about how to move through this run, and I'm actually going to go to Koga first, because against him, all of our moves other than submission are neutrally effective, whereas against Sabrina, only Mega Kick is neutrally effective. So I actually think Koga might be easier in this run than the Sabrina fight. We'll just have to see if it actually works out that way, but that's my logic for going down south first. We will also take the time to pick up the PP up and Max Elixir on this route down, because we may end up just needing to slam the 3 PP ups that we have up to this point into Mega Kick in order to make the Erica fight even borderline consistent. So just like that, we do make it to Koga with no issues, so let's just see if we can manage to beat him on the first attempt. So here against Koga, the Venonats have lower special than they have defense, so I'm going to go Hydro Pump. This is still looking to be a 2-hit KO on the first Venonat, though. That really destroys my confidence here, because while we're not going to take massive damage from anything, we still have to get perfect ranges in order to 2-shot these Pokemon. Here we get put to sleep, and now we're getting hit by Double Edge after this Venonat used an X attack, so we go down on the first attempt against Koga. That is clearly not a consistent fight, so I think we have to go back and try Erica or try rival number 5 if we're going to progress without optional battles. Now for this Erica fight, because of the fact that I know I'm only going to be able to use Mega Kick, I'm actually going to slam my PP ups into Mega Kick right here so that I have more PP to use in this fight, because it would be terrible to come up against Erica and not have enough PP. So Erica attempt number 1, we've got the Tangela out first. I'm going to go Mega Kick, and we can actually go Submission on Tangela since it's a pure grass type. It's neutrally effective, but it takes 2 hits to get through. Now the Weepin' Bell, we just missed the range to 1-hit KO it with Mega Kick, but the second Mega Kick does hit, so we get through that Pokemon just fine. Now for Gloom, it puts us to sleep with Sleep Powder and goes Petal Dance, and we need to wake up so that we can actually have a chance here. She is thrashing about. She does hit herself in confusion, but then she's dropping acid and we simply go down. That was kind of bad luck to get the sleep powder there. So I am going to try this one again, hoping to not get sleep powdered. Let's see if it actually works though. So since we know this is a 2-hit KO anyway, I'll go submission first on the Tangela. We missed the first submission though, and it turns out that we actually got a better range with Mega Kick last time. Maybe we had a crit and I didn't realize. So we end up in this situation where we're not doing quite as well getting through to the Gloom. Still, we've made it to Gloom. We hit the Mega Kick first turn. This is going to be a 2-hit KO, but we do manage to win on the second attempt. Still not pretty getting to this point. 37 minutes and 25 seconds to beat Erica, and we're starting to see this become less and less consistent. We're up to 4 resets. We haven't taken any optional battles. Occasionally they are popping onto the overlay because I've got an error where it thinks I've already fought all the battles. I gotta see what to do to get that fixed. But still, 4 resets, considering that we have a 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 chance of missing with all of these moves, it's probably par for the course, considering that really status is the issue. But before I go back and try to fight Koga again, I'm going to come up here and try to fight the rival 5 fight. since we do have super effective moves against most of his team, and for the Pokemon we don't have super effective moves against, we at least have decent neutrally effective moves, I think this is the best play to progress in the game at this point without taking any optional battles. But if this one looks terrible, we may just end up having to start grinding here in order to progress in the game. If this were a pure minimum battles run, I'd probably reset for ranges, but that's not what we're doing in this one. We're looking at how viable these moves are. So if we hit a wall, that's going to be the play. So let's see if we can actually manage to beat the rival or not at our current level. Now, of course, Rival 5 leads off with Sand Slash. We need to hit a Hydro Pump here, and it does not get the one-hit KO. It barely survives with 2 HP remaining. That could be a range, but then we get Sand Attacked, which is absolutely terrible because now we can't hit anything. I'm trying to go for Submission because I want to save some Hydro Pumps for the final Flareon, but now we're just not able to hit anything because we took 2 Sand Attacks from that Sand Slash. That's kind of bad luck. He's only 1 in 4 to use the Sand Attack, so here we do manage to get through Cloyster. We even hit a Mega Kick on the Magneton, but then we go down to Sonic Boom. I am going to take a reset here just because I want to see what happens if we get maybe a better range with Hydro Pump, or at least don't get Sand Attack. So the next attempt, Hydro Pump does get the one-hit KO, so it is clearly a range on that first Sand Slash. Now we can go Thunder on Cloyster. It hits Aurora Beam, but that didn't do too much, and then Thunder is enough to one-hit KO. We'll go Mega Kick here on the Magneton. That is a 2-hitter. In fact, it's a 3-hitter. Not ideal. But now Mega Kick is the only good play against this Kadabra. It will get the one-hit KO. We get to level 38 as Flareon comes out. We hit Hydro Pump, and this is yet again a 2-hitter, and it Sand Attacks us, but we hit the next Hydro Pump. So we beat the rival on the second attempt. Still not pretty, but we did get the job done. So now we just have a quick fight against Jesse and James, and then hopefully we'll be good for Giovanni, assuming we don't get terrible luck on this fight. Fortunately, we do get through just fine, but we're going to have to pop out for a quick heal if we're going to survive this next battle. Still after that, we have made it to Giovanni. Let's just see if we can get the first attempt victory here. He's going to lead off with his Nidorino. We've got nothing better than Hydro Pump. It's going to be a 2-hitter. I'm actually going to use Mega Kick next because I want to keep Hydro Pump for the last 2 Pokemon. Let's go Submission here on the Persian. That is a one-hit KO. Rhyhorn, we can go Hydro Pump and get the easy victory. And now Nidoqueen, I'm going Hydro Pump, and it is a 2-hit KO on this Pokemon with this move. And we missed 2 Hydro Pumps in a row. So good job, Mew. But Mega Kick does end it, and we get to level 40. We would love to learn Psychic here, but that is not an option in this run because Psychic would be far too powerful and accurate. But just like that, we have managed to press through the entire Silph Co section on minimum battles. And I think the best play now is to go and take on Sabrina, since she's just going to kind of be random. We're not quite fast enough to outspeed all of her team or anything. We would need to beat Koga for that. But at least Mega Kick is a strong move and everything else is neutrally effective. So I think this is the best way to progress at this point, especially since in this version of the game, she does not have Smart AI. So let's see if we can beat Sabrina or not. This one might be a little bit random, but let's find out. So Sabrina attempt number 1, we're going Mega Kick as she goes X Defend on the Abra. We still get the one-hit KO. She X Defends on Kadabra and we miss the Mega Kick. But then she goes Psywave, and this is looking like a 2-hit KO as long as she doesn't recover. And of course, we can resist Psychic, so this is a perfectly fine situation. Now she goes for both Reflect and for an X Defend on the Alakazam, so I think we have to switch into a move like Hydro Pump. We get a nice critical hit there, but man, oh man, that Psychic is doing tons of damage even though it's resisted, so we lose the first attempt. The question is, how would we do if we didn't get the misses there with the Mega Kick before she set up Reflect? So I'm going to try this just one more time to see. This time with no X Defend on Kadabra, it's still looking to be a 2-hit KO, but we get a much better range. And now on Alakazam, it goes Recover turn 1 and a critical hit Mega Kick just one-shots. We have about a 20% chance to critical hit with a Mew. So in 44 minutes, 37 seconds, we did manage to get through Sabrina. Still not pretty, but it is possible within a reset there. Honestly, if she doesn't set up Reflect, you're basically good to go, and Reflect is only a 1 in 4 chance, and then I think she's like 1 in 8 or something to use the X defend. But with that done, the only battle that is left without taking optional battles is to go back and fight Koga. We're at a higher level. Let's see if we get better ranges on those Venonats now. So Koga attempt number 2, we're gonna go Hydro Pump yet again on the Venonat. We get a critical hit to one-shot the first Venonat there. Second Venonat, we do not get a crit, but this is going to be a 2-hitter. We get confused by Psybeam, and then it hits Psychic, which gets a special drop. This is all stuff that we don't want to be seeing, but it's all just due to repeated misses. The third Venonat comes out, it goes for the double edge, but it hasn't gotten an X attack yet. But we can see Hydro Pump did less than half here to this Pokemon, so this is not looking great. We're on pretty low health as we're going to be going into the final Venomoth. It goes Leech Life, we barely survive, and I went for Thunder hoping that maybe I could get a paralysis, but we can see that Thunder did basically nothing. We do have one special drop on, but even still, it only did 24 damage. So we're clearly not winning this attempt. I'm going to try one more though, just to see if we can get through without a special drop, since that could have affected our ranges quite a bit here. The next attempt, however, we get hit by Toxic, which I think also is basically a guaranteed loss. Still, we are back to the Venomoth on higher health than before, and it has lower defense, so I'm just going to see what the range is with Mega Kick. Mega Kick did 58 damage, so this is a 3-hit KO here. If we could get a crit, we would win at that point, but it is pretty darn close. So I think this is a spot where it's finally time to fight some rando trainers. So I'm going to use damage rounding thresholds to inform my decisions of when to grind and what level to grind to. Levels that end in 0, 3, 5, and 8 tend to increase your damage just a little bit more than other level ups do. So we're going to try again at level 43 and then level 45 and so on until we manage to win this fight. Fortunately, there are tons of available trainers in this section of the game, so we should be able to gain levels pretty efficiently, but let's just see how it actually works out. So back to Koga at level 43. Let's just see what happens to our ranges now. Hydro Pump, of course, is still not going to be a 1-hit KO. It's not going to be close to getting a 1-hit KO even, but we do have much more HP and defense, which is the key point here. We once again get Toxic from the second Venonat, which is not ideal, but we are going to be able to get through at least. But this time we're on even lower health going to the final Venomoth, so we're simply not going to win this attempt. And it's pretty clear that we're still not going to be anywhere close to consistent or even really reasonable at this level. So let's go level up some more to level 45. Now again at level 45, we are back to try this fight. We don't quite get the 1-hit KO on the first Venonat, but we do paralyze it. So we can really just use anything there to knock that Pokemon out. Now we get to the second Venonat, and this is where Thunder actually has a little bit of value in this run, is the fact that while it is inaccurate, it does have a chance to paralyze opponents. We get Toxic from the third Venonat here, and then a double edge, but we're going to the final Venomoth on green health. We missed the first Mega Kick, though we are faster now, and we did about half damage with the second Mega Kick when it actually connected. So now we can win that fight because we only need to land 2 out of our 3 Mega Kicks there in order to win. Still, we're up to 53 minutes and 27 seconds to get through this point in the game. And yeah, this is looking kind of questionable now. We're up to 12 optional battles and 9 resets. So the inconsistency is definitely starting to take a toll. Still, in theory, Hydro Pump is super strong against Blaine. It should be good against Giovanni. I expect the next 2 gyms to not be terrible as long as we can land the hits. And then we're on to the league, where I think we've got reasonable matchups against both Bruno and Lorelei. The question is really, how are we going to do against Agatha and Lance and the champion? We have enough coverage to hit everything, but we don't necessarily have good moves for everything. And now in the Cinnabar Mansion here, of course, we could normally get access to Blizzard, which is another super powerful move that's not perfectly accurate. But because in Gen 1 it was 90% accurate, I would argue that in almost every case it's better than Ice Beam, unless Ice Beam is getting the exact same range. for example, a one-hitter or a two-hitter on an opponent, you would prefer Blizzard because it is much stronger. And that 90% accuracy is still good enough that you would prefer the stronger move, which is why you often see Blizzard in competitive. It's a far cry from the 30% chance to miss with Thunder, for example, or even the 20% chance to miss with Hydro Pump. But with that, let's go ahead and get into the Blaine fight. Of course, if we do Tombstoner, this would be a guaranteed one-hit KO. It doesn't matter the accuracy of Tombstoner, we would always still win, because I mean, it heals you to 100% HP every time, right? So yeah, let's just see how we actually do against Blaney Boy here. So Blaine attempt number 1, I'm going to go for Hydro Pump here on the first Ninetales, and it is going to be a 2-hit KO. We do manage to get through though, but that means we're going to run into issues with our PP as we continue. Rapidash gets us in a Fire Spin and then hits a massive takedown, and we're going to need one more hit here, so I'm actually going to go for Mega Kick to knock that one out. We get to the Arcanine with 57 HP remaining, and we get a critical hit from Hydro Pump, so we just win on the first attempt. Good job, Blaine. That took 58 minutes 36 seconds to get through. 10 resets because I accidentally said yes on the Tombstoner question once. Sorry about that, but that's the way that it goes. We know that Tombstoner is actually TM28. The game is just wrong. But now we can progress with those 10 resets and 12 optional battles. I will take off that one reset though, just because of the fact that it wasn't actually a legit reset in battle. But now we can make our way up to Giovanni, and it is time to see if we can complete the 8 Kanto gyms with this moveset without any additional optional battles from here. I think we have a decent chance because everything except the Persian is weak against Hydro Pump. Persian, we can just use Submission. It should be fine, but let's see if it actually works out that way. Giovanni attempt number 1, he leads off with Dugtrio. I'm going to go for Hydro Pump as he guard specs. We missed the first Hydro Pump and then he uses a Sand Attack on us, so we're in bad shape here. We get screeched and then slashed by the Persian and then Fury swipes. We finally managed to hit Submission, but it's not a one-hit KO. We're going down on the first attempt. We have to try this again and see if we can get through without a Sand Attack, since yet again, that's only a 1 in 4 chance for him to use that move. Next attempt, he goes Fissure and misses, so we get the one-hitter without any accuracy drops. We already know that Submission is a 2-hit KO here on the Persian, but we get a crit this time to get the one-hitter. Nidoqueen, I'm going back to Hydro Pumps since it's super effective. We get a crit again. I'm not sure if that mattered, but we do get the one-hit KOs. We get the level 48. Now on the Nidoking, also, we go Hydro Pump. It is not a one-hitter here. I want to save my remaining Hydro Pumps for the Rhydon, but we do manage to land Mega Kick, so that's just fine. Now we have to hit Hydro Pump here. Once we do, that is a guaranteed victory. So we beat Giovanni on the second attempt. 1 hour, 1 minute, 13 seconds to get through to this point in the game with 10 resets legitimately now and 12 optional battles. So we did manage to beat Giovanni on minimum battles. It's not pretty, but it is possible. We are starting to see though that a lot of opponents, even with super effective moves, are not being one-hit KO'd at this point. You would have to grind quite a few more levels or slam a lot of vitamins to get there. We're not using any vitamins. We are on 0 DVs in this one. This is the weakest possible Mew, so your mileage will vary. Maybe with better DVs you do get the win, but for now it's time to take on rival number 6 and see if we can manage to get through him. This is our real warm-up for the league, so Hydro Pump on the Sand Slash does get the one-hit KO. Execute, we have nothing better than Mega Kick and we miss. It goes for Solar Beam though. We still see that Mega Kick is going to be a 2-hit KO there, however, so we take the Solar Beam, that's fine. Next, we get a miss from Thunder on Cloyster, so we get clamped. After that, we do manage to hit Thunder though, and that is a one-hitter. I'm going to go Mega Kick yet again on Magneton just because I want to save some Hydro Pump PP, and because its defense is lower. We managed to knock it out in 2 hits, but we're on low health. Mega Kick does one-shot Kadabra though, and it's time for Hydro Pump on Flareon. We miss. He misses a Fire Spin. We hit the next Hydro Pump. It's not a one-hitter, but he misses another Fire Spin, so we managed to win on the first attempt as we get to level 50 on the rival. So yeah, we do win. It's not necessarily pretty, but it is possible. Now I am going to be going to the lighthouse to get one additional rare candy and another PP up. I actually think the PP up is super important here because we're probably going to want to use that on Hydro Pump if I have to guess, but I don't know. It could be a situation where we need to use it on a different move. Obviously, Mega Kick is already maxed out, but the other moves, I'm not sure exactly where we will want to use it, but we're likely going to want to have more PP. Hydro Pump is my baseline guess of a move that one more PP could affect the range in a battle. Now, I expect here Agatha to be the most random fight ever, given that all of our moves are only neutrally effective. And honestly, we're probably looking for a situation where we at least get through Bruno and Lorelei consistently, like as consistently as you can when you miss 1 in 4 times, before Agatha's really going to be reasonable. So I'm going to kind of do like I did with the 2-turn moves run a couple videos ago and not use any rare candies until we at least get to Agatha. I think using them before that is a mistake because we have decent enough strategies for the first 2 Elite Four members. And since there's a decent chance of a blackout grind here, I'm just going to buy as many full restores as I possibly can. And as we come to the power plant to get the PP up and rare candy, we can just wave goodbye to Zapdos. It is time to go take on Lorelei. So let's see if we can actually win with accuracy like a stormtrooper here. So Lorelei attempt number 1, she leads off, of course, with Dugong. I'm going Thunder here. This is looking like a 2-hit KO at our current level. Then she goes Rest. Now we could, of course, go for Submission as well in order to knock this Pokemon out. I just used that there in order to finish it off, since it's more accurate. Thunder should be enough for Cloyster. Sure enough, it is. And we get Surf from the Slowbro. He's trying to stunt on us with the fact that he has a more accurate move. Still, we managed to knock that one out. We can go Mega Kick here on the Jinx, which does not quite get the 1-hitter, but it is a 2-hitter. We get to level 51 as Lapras comes out. I go Thunder. She hits the Blizzard and ends me. I'm just going to keep the XP and come back and try this fight again. Next attempt, we get a much better range against the first Dugong and still get through the Cloyster just fine. We paralyze Slowbro as she goes for a Super Potion, and we can just knock it out a couple turns later. Jinx, once again, we go Mega Kick. This time we get a critical hit one-shot there. So we're to Lapras on green health this time. It hits Body Slam and paralyzes us, and we need to land one more Thunder, but we do get it. So we win on the second attempt against Lorelei, coming in 1 level higher since we kept the XP from the first fight. But now we're ready to take on Bruno, and I don't think anybody loses to Bruno, but if anybody does lose to Bruno, it's probably this Mew that misses half of its moves, it feels like. Let's see. So first up, of course, we've got Bruno's Onix. I'm going to go Hydro Pump, which is an easy 1-hit KO there. Hitmonchan comes out, and in this generation, the Hitmons have very low specials, so I still think Hydro Pump is the play. It's not a 1-hitter, so I'll just use Submission to knock it out. Hitmonlee's out next. We go Hydro Pump and do get the 1-hitter there. Hydro Pump on the second Onix is an easy KO. That brings out Machamp. I go Hydro Pump. It does less than half, but it just raised its defense, so we're going to go Thunder here. We get a critical hit to knock Bruno out. He barely did any damage to us, so yeah, par for the course there against Bruno. So now that we've gotten through Bruno and Lorelei at level 53, we have 11 rare candies in the bag, including the one that I just got from the power plant. I'm going to see if I can manage to get through this fight against Agatha. Otherwise, I will start slamming some rare candies. This is, however, the spot where I'm also going to put a PP up into Hydro Pump because we need more PP that can actually hit ghosts. So here against Agatha, after resetting once in order to recover some PP, we missed the first Hydro Pump on Gengar, and the second Hydro Pump doesn't do that much. Here we can go Thunder on the Golbat, and that doesn't get a 1-hitter either. So I'm just going to Mega Kick it down, and now we have to try to get through this Gengar. We get a nice crit there, so it can't use Substitute, and we knock it out the next turn. I'm actually going to use Thunder here on the Haunter, but this is looking like a 3-hit KO as well. So the ranges really aren't looking good here. I'm going to go Mega Kick on the Arbok just because we need to preserve PP that can hit ghosts. We knocked that one out as we get to level 54. Now we're confused and paralyzed by this Gengar, so not a great situation. Of course, course, it only knows Psychic as a damage dealing move, but we're going to need to get a decent amount of luck to actually win this fight. Here she super potions, we're using our last few PP, and we simply go down. So clearly, rare candies are going to be the play here. I'm going to try to get to level 55 first. That's just 2 of our rare candies, but let's see how that affects the ranges. So Agatha, attempt number 2, Hydro Pump with a critical hit did over half, and then she sets up a substitute. We can easily break it. She sends out Golbat next. Thunder now is a one-hit KO, at least with a crit. The whole issue, of course, is that we can't hit anything against this Haunter, though. I'm trying to save some Hydro Pumps for the very end because I want to have better ranges on that last Gengar. But here we've used so much PP from Thunder because of misses that I think we're going to lose this one just to not having enough PP. Sure enough, when we only have 2 PP left on Hydro Pump and we're only up against the Haunter, we have to reset at that point. So clearly the ranges aren't very good. Let's try to get to level 58 and try this one again. This time we got Toxic from the Golbat. So again, I think we just have to reset because it's going to take too many turns to knock everything out. But I'm going to try again because Toxic is only a 1 in 4 chance. This time we get a crit and paralyze the first Gengar, but it's still not a 2-hit KO there. We land Thunder on Golbat, knocking it out, however, so we've made it to the Haunter on full health. She swaps to Arbok, which we can just use our Mega Kick as it goes Wrap on us. We're just hoping not to get Glare. Fortunately, we do avoid that move, and now we can go Thunder with a crit to knock out the Haunter. So we've still got 6 Hydro Pumps and 2 Thunders here for the final Gengar. We get a crit with the first Hydro Pump, then we get confused by Confuse Ray and put to sleep, but we wake up immediately, so it misses the Dream Eater, and now we just need to land one more hit. We do get it at level 58, so obviously Agatha is super random, but at less than level 58, I feel like the ranges aren't quite there in order to get a reasonable victory, whereas now we have made it to Lance, and theoretically we can get through with this moveset. Let's just see how it actually goes, though. So Lance attempt number 1, we go Thunder, and that's going to completely destroy the Gyarados, which is par for the course. Now we have to go basically either Mega Kick or Submission against the Dragonairs. Mega Kick is stronger, which is why I'm going for it. We miss, of course, and then we get paralyzed by a Thunder Wave, and it takes 2 Mega Kicks to knock that Pokemon out. Now we get Hyper Beamed, and we're just being paralyzed, so we can't actually hit our moves. Once we do manage to hit, though, the Dragonairs go down just fine. Now Hydro Pump is the play for the Aerodactyl. It's an easy 1-hit KO. And now Thunder is technically neutrally effective here against the Dragonite. Its special and defense are pretty darn close, but I'm gonna go Thunder because it has the chance to get paralysis. He also Thunders on me. We get a nice crit though and paralyze him, and that allows us to hit the next Thunder, but then he survives and he uses the Hyper Potion. Then he Fire Blasts to knock us out. So we got so close to the victory there, but we couldn't quite get the range. This is another spot to drop some rare candies. Let's get to level 60 here. That leaves 4 rare candies in the bag. Let's just see if we can get this to go. So Lance attempt number 2, Thunder, again just one-shots the Gyarados. Mega Kick on the first Dragonair. This time it goes Thunderbolt and then Slam, but we don't get Paralysis, which could be huge in this one. Then Bubble Beam from the second Dragonair is not that big of a deal. We get Hyper Beamed from the Aerodactyl though, so we're on low health, though Hydro Pump did hit. And now Fire Blast just ends us. So we lose yet again, even though we got better luck. So we're going up to level 63 now with our rare candies. Let's see if this is enough to win with Stormtrooper accuracy. I'm not very confident at this point, though. We may end up having to go back and blackout grind. Here we do get him into a Hyper Potion range with Mega Kick on the Dragonairs now, though, and we can knock him out in one hit with crits, of course. So we're 2 Aerodactyl on full health. We just missed the first Hydro Pump, but we hit the second one. And now, once again, I'm going Thunder on the Dragonite for the chance to maybe get a Paralysis, but then he freezes me with a Blizzard, so we lose. That was bad luck though. That's only a 10% chance to happen, so I am taking the reset here to try this one again. Otherwise, we still have one rare candy in the bag. It could affect things a little bit by just boosting our stats slightly. We'll just have to see. But the next attempt, we get a hyper beam that knocks us out from the Dragonite. So yet again, that's only a 1 in 4 chance. This is still looking pretty random though. I'm just gonna slam the last rare candy just to see if it makes any difference. Let's try again. So back to the Dragonite on about half health this time. We get the paralysis turn 1. It hits Hyper Beam, but we survive. It has to recharge. We're going to need one turn of it being fully paralyzed. It misses a blizzard, and so we finally win at level 64. But yeah, that did not feel consistent. I'm just going to be honest. That felt pretty terrible. Still, we have made it to the champion at this point, and if we use our max elixirs here, we're basically not going to be able to go back through the Elite Four anymore. So we're going to have to just reset at this current level, which is pretty nerve-wracking, but I'm going to try it. Let's just see if we can manage to win or not. So champion attempt number 1, we go Hydro Pump on the Sand Slash, which is a one-hitter. Out next is Alakazam. We're going Mega Kick, which gets the one-hit KO. Exeggutor, we go Mega Kick. This looks like a 2-hit KO here. We do manage to land both though, so we're 2 Magneton on really good health. This is also a 2-hitter, but we knock it out with 2 Mega Kicks. Thunder on the Cloyster. Now we need to land a Hydro Pump here on the Flareon. It's not a one-hit KO. We take a Flamethrower. We miss the second Hydro Pump. We miss the third Hydro Pump as he full restores. Now he's going Fire Spin on us. We needed like a crit, and we don't quite get the one-hit KO range there, but I'm going Submission. He goes Quick Attack, and he knocks me out with 2 Quick Attacks, and I lose with him all the way down. Are you kidding me? This looks like a situation to reset because we missed like 3 hits on that final Flareon. Otherwise, we would have won, but this is incredibly, incredibly close. Next attempt, we're all the way down to 3 HP as we knock out the Cloyster. If we get a critical hit Hydro Pump, we would win, but he just uses Quick Attack and knocks us out. This is Gen 1 though. He's not actually smart enough to know that he should use Quick Attack there. He's just randomizing, and he happened to use the right move. But it is worth noting that even with worse luck on the previous Pokemon, we were able to make it to the Flareon both times. So this does give me a little bit of confidence that it's not just completely luck-based to get through. We can get to the final Pokemon, at least with reasonable consistency. Though this time when we get Thunder Wave from the Magneton, we're basically dead. But as long as we don't get a Thunder Wave and we don't get really bad misses earlier on, I do think this is a winnable fight. As long as we get to the Flareon, we have a 20% chance to get a critical hit that just one-shots there. So back to Flareon again a couple attempts later. We hit the Hydro Pump. He goes for a full restore. We hit the next Hydro Pump. He goes Flamethrower and gets a critical hit to knock us out. Oh, it's only a 12.7% chance to get a crit there. I think a non-crit we would have survived. So yet again, we're just getting kind of bad luck here. But that's the problem with these inaccurate moves. You're leaving a lot of chance open to just get bad luck and lose a fight. But it does make me question what level we're going to be able to win with the 100% accurate moves. Because if we're struggling this much, even when we have the stronger moves, this could be pretty darn random. We get back to Flareon on low health the next time. We hit the Hydro Pump. He goes full restore. We need to hit one more and please crit. No, we did not get the crit and we lose. You know, at some point we have like a nearly 1 in 5 chance to crit. So we should win eventually. It's just a question of how many attempts this is actually going to take. But now the reason why I'm not just blackout grinding here to gain additional levels is because we don't have any more PP restoration items left other than 1 max elixir, and I don't think we have enough PP to get through everything just by restoring our PP once in the middle of the Elite Four. So we're kind of stuck in this situation where we basically have to just get through with what we've got right now. I don't pre-route or pre-optimize these runs at all, so I don't know what level I can actually win things at consistently or even pseudo-consistently, because keep in mind, nothing's going to be consistent here. But we do manage to get back to Flareon. It goes for the Quick Attack, and we finally get the crit. So it takes 1 hour, 28 minutes, and 4 seconds seconds, 5 seconds after the timer runs off a little bit there, to get through the champion. We ended up with 25 resets and 13 optional battles. So how was this? Well, it wasn't pretty. We did manage to get it to go, but man, having the accuracy of a stormtrooper effectively is not a good way to play a solo challenge. I can certainly see why everybody wants to use the 100% accurate moves, but now my question is how much lower of a level and how many fewer optional battles or resets can we actually do it with 100% accurate moves that directly correspond to the moves we used here? So now, as our rival says he never made any mistakes raising his Pokemon, we have to admit we made lots of mistakes here, choosing to use these 4 moves, and even then he's still gonna get chastised by his grandpa for being worse than a guy who can't even use 100% accurate moves in the league. But we have done it. We have registered a Stormtrooper effectively into the Hall of Fame. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed that one. There are more videos coming in this little series that I'm doing. We're still going to check out things like one-hit KO moves and fixed damage / random kinds of moves in Gen 1 that I think will be incredibly interesting, so stick around for that. And quickly, I want to just give a massive thank you to everybody. We just hit 2 million total views on the channel, which is insane to me. When I started this channel as just a little bit of a hobby side project, I never expected to have so many people watch, and I'm getting incredibly close to my long-term goal of being a full-time PokeTuber. So if you'd like to support me in that, consider checking out the video that I'm going to link here at the end. And if you really want to support me, check out the channel memberships down below. With that, I will see you guys in the next one. Later.